Hi, this is Mark Arnold with yet another Fun Ideas podcast. And today I have a longtime assistant on this show. He actually even hosted one of the episodes of this show. It is Charles F. Rosenay! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! What
I
does the
thought,
F?
oh,
What does
it,
the F stand for? I've never asked you that. Will you reveal that?
yeah, it stands for Fab Four, of course. What else? Didn't we host more than one? I could have sworn we did.
No, no, no. There's one you hosted completely without me on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Gotcha.
That's what I meant. No, you've been on many times. I mean, you've also given me a zillion musical guests and other people and stars. Tara Buckman was last week, and
Yeah.
uh, part of the reason of having you on here is the reason I had her on here is you're doing the upcoming Salem, Massachusetts Paracon, and so I guess we could just dive right in. But I would say introduce yourself for anybody who doesn't know who you are.
Hi there. My name is Michael Ventrella. I am the co-author of several books with. No, wrong person. I'm Charles F. Rosenay, raconteur, impresario,
Racketeer.
entrepreneur. I'm an author, an actor, and a producer. And right, I've got a very exciting event coming up called Salem Paracon, which is in Salem, Massachusetts, at Salem State University, and it's the Salem Paranormal and Horror Convention, November 11th and 12th. And it's just so exciting because we've got, there's a lot of these conventions around, but I think we have a really amazing lineup of guests, not just from the paranormal world, but, from the horror field too, including Tara Buckman from Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Cannonball Run, which wasn't a very scary movie, but she was great in it. But her co-star, who was in it, Adrienne Barbeau, was also in Swamp Thing and was also in a lot of horror things. So there's all those horror connections. And then, of course, we have two guest actors who were in Friday the 13th, Part 2. And this is in addition to a slew of vendors and psychics and readers and horror merch. It's your typical fun convention. I'm a convention guy. I just love going to them. I love, attending them as a fan, as a guest, as an author, and every opportunity I can, I try to go to a convention. And this should be a real fun one because I'll be hosting it and welcoming people at the door and doing some of the interviews, and it'll give everyone an opportunity to say hello to me and to all the great guests we've got at www.salemparacon.org. Thank you and good night.
All right. Hey, come back here. Come back here. Hey, come back here. Oh, there it is. Okay.
I, I did
Ooh,
want
it's Dr. Tongue's House of 3D Stewardesses.
I did also want to mention that we've got the OG himself. I always say when you think of the paranormal, you think of the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren, and the Conjurings, and all that stuff, and Annabelle. And when you think of magic, you think of Houdini. But when you think of mentalism and mind reading, if you're of a certain era and you remember Johnny Carson, and the name that everyone knows is the amazing Kreskin. Yeah. And he's going to be at the convention. So yeah, I almost left out our main guest. So
Now,
very
how many years does this run, this particular show? Is this the second one or is there more?
only the second
Oh,
one.
okay.
I
That's what I
felt
thought.
there was a lot of great events in Salem, especially in October, but there wasn't this large, horror and paranormal convention on this level. And I think there had been years ago when they stopped doing them. I don't really know whatever, but anyway. So that's why I felt it filled a gap, especially after doing the Connecticut paranormal conventions and those doing so well. I thought, well, Salem needs one. So November 11th and 12th with great guests, readers, psychics, vendors, authors, horror merch, and much more. Salem State University South Campus. Next topic.
Well, I'll just continue on this a little bit longer to give you, because I know you'll never turn down a free plug. So, but I'll ask a question first. So, how long have you been kind of interested in horror or paranormal or ghosts? And I know you wrote a book, and that's what I was going to allude to. But how long have you been interested? Is your whole life, and what got you interested in it?
Horror from day one. Although in those days we didn't call it horror, we called it monster movies.
Hmm.
And such that because we're talking about that, I'm changing my scenery. I am relocating to a brand new location
This
where
is
we have
high
a
tech here. Ooh.
completely different background. We've
Yeah.
got Bella with the shine on his head. We've
Yeah.
got Anthony Hopkins in the background, Hannibal, and we've got the Wolfman from Universal. So I've loved monsters literally from when I was the youngest things that my memories in life are the Beatles on Ed Sullivan and watching The Bride of Frankenstein with my mom. And from then on, I was hooked. Always loved it. Always will. You know, every new monster movie that comes out, I see with my kids. And I didn't really pursue it as a side like occupation, vocation, whatever you want to call it, the way I did Beatles. I do the Beatle tours, and I've done the published a magazine on the Beatles for almost 20 years. I do the festivals, manage Beatle bands. That's been sort of my life is doing stuff surrounded by the Beatles. But when people realize that I've been doing the Beatles tour for 40 years, it sometimes comes as a surprise to know that I've been doing the Dracula tour for 25 years. So although I haven't been doing it as long as the Beatles stuff, I've certainly been doing it a long time. And that's the Dracula tour to Transylvania, www.dractours.com. And as we speak and as we record this, tomorrow I have a group coming back from Romania for the annual tour that I do.
Wow. Now, how come you're not on it? You just don't
I
go on every tour that you do, or
No, that's a really good question. So I go on all the Beatle tours,
yeah,
but with the Dracula tours, they take place during Halloween.
yeah.
So the first 12 years I did host it,
Mhm.
and I groomed a gentleman by the name of Radu, appropriately enough. Radu was a Romanian
Yeah.
historian, professor, knows everything about everything on the planet, including Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Tepes, and the Dracula lore and legend and novel, and he ties it together beautifully. So even when I was hosting the tour, he was still my tour guide.
I see.
And when I felt really good, comfortable with him and all that, and I felt that I could continue the tour but not have to be on it with him as the host, that's why I'm not on it, and he continues it himself and does a sparkling job.
Well, it sounds like he's perfect for it and
Yeah.
knowledgeable about the subject. I mean, it's not just some guy like, I don't know where we are.
Right. Yeah,
Uh,
no, he knows all the places and all the histories of all the places, and he
cool.
makes it fun. I mean, that's a big thing with all my tours is, yeah, you can, give as much information as the next guy, but we add personality, we add special stuff to make it, that much more appetizing to join us.
Now, what were you doing here? I mean, you were doing the haunted houses, so tell me a little bit about those because that seems like a big undertaking. And how long do those run?
So every weekday, I was doing a library appearance
Oh, okay.
through the month of October. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I was different library talking about mostly ghosts and ghost stories. And then on the weekends, I was hosting the haunted trolley. And it's a real trolley, an antique trolley that goes
Huh.
out and then comes back, and people take a ride on it. And last year, the concept was I told ghost stories going out, and then on the way back we did a seance to see if we could talk to the people who were actually killed on a trolley ride back in 1917. It's a true story. This year we changed it up completely. We took out the haunted supernatural aspect of it, brought in professional actors who do dinner theater, and we did a murder mystery, Murder
Cool.
on the Shoreline Express,
Hmm.
right on board the trolley. And
Hmm.
so I was on it a few times, adding a little comedy. I would do the introductions, but I didn't have to be there. Another scenario where I can put on something and not be there. And it's very rare that I can do that. So I was able to do my normal life DJing gigs, which is how I actually earn a living. And on the other days and other nights, I was doing conventions, setting up at other conventions and
Hmm.
getting geared up. And while I was at those conventions, I'm handing out flyers and promoting Dracula tour and promoting the Salem Paracon.
Hmm. And it surprised me when I first started talking to you and everything that your very first book actually had nothing to do with the fellers behind me, and it had more to do with the fellers behind you. And
I must say
yeah,
that the first book that you're alluding to,
yeah,
Book of Top 10
yeah.
Horror List, hardcover, which is the only one I have, has 9 Beetle chapters
Hmm.
and 9 Monkeys chapters. So, I thought that would do the trick. I thought that would placate the Monkey fans and the Beetle fans. And to an extent, it did. I promoted
Yeah.
it heavily as, yes, it's a horror book. Yes, it's a celebrity book and it's a pop culture book. But hey, Beetle fans, Pete Best is in it. Hey, Monkey fans, Mickey Dolenz is in it. So I'm
Mm.
thinking everyone's going to want to get it for that reason. Well, a few did, but it was always Charles, where's the Beetle book? Charles, come on.
But you didn't
So
even do that as your second book, and your second book is more in line with the Paracon. So
second book
yeah,
is True
yeah,
Ghost Stories of Connecticut.
yeah.
It's amazing. I just happen to have these handy so that you ask and I show. Yeah.
I,
There's
I
there's
can't believe you'd have copies of your own book.
there's my horror host persona right there.
Ah, okay.
Chucky.
Does your
And
horror host, did you say, does it have a name? Like, I know you do different characters and stuff like that, like
that's
Charlene and stuff. Does
this
that
is
character,
Crypt Master Chucky.
Chris Master Chucky? All right.
Yeah. And there was a show called Scared Stiff. It was one of these web series, and they would churn out all these great horror shorts.
Mhm.
And I was in a bunch of them as an actor. But when he decided to do like an anthology with wraparounds, where he had a horror host introduce each of them and do a few shtick things in between, that's where I got to do my horror host persona, and I did it at a few conventions. I actually DJ'd a few times and dressed in that character.
Mhm.
I miss that character. I got to find the wig and the pants and the outfit somewhere. I haven't lost it over the years. I need to find it. It's probably somewhere anyway.
That's funny. Uh, um, I know. Well, we'll talk about it later because we're going to talk about everything at some point in the next hour here. But are there any more books along the line of those first two books in your future that you can discuss?
So the book of top 10 horror lists has 100 celebrity lists. And while I was working on them, a bunch of lists came in after I went to print. And I thought, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to horror conventions. I'm meeting horror people. I'm halfway done with a second book, but I lost interest in it. I don't think
Uh-oh.
I'm going to put out, I always said, yeah, I'm going to put out the bride of the book of top 10 horror lists. And I might get that urge again. But at this point, I have the list on a database, and I probably have made friends with about 30 other horror stars and actors and celebrities who I can get lists from.
Mhm.
So that's possibly down the road if I have enough interest and I feel there's enough of a market to sell another book of the same ilk. Then again, with the Ghost Stories book, it came out. It's got 33 amazing Connecticut ghost stories. I've since gotten more ghost stories from people about what happened in Connecticut. So I could probably do a volume 2 of that, or do ghost stories of Massachusetts, or Rhode Island, or New York. So there's a lot of possibilities. But right now, I'm really more focused on working with you, Mark, and
Aw.
putting out our Turtles book, which is coming out. Four people will know it. It's going to hit them, and pow, they're going to want this amazing Turtles anthology discography, a phenomenal book with interviews and reviews. It's going to take the Turtles world by storm. And then, we might have another music oriented book before anything else. So though that's what's in line. And
Yeah.
I had a great idea for for another Beatles book, which might be the third in line. So if I do the Turtles and then the other music book, and then there might be a Beatles book down the road, because I do love the process, but I've had second thoughts about repeating myself.
Well,
Even
would you ever do another type of horror book that wasn't a top 10 list, or ghost stories? It would be something completely different, but in the horror vein, like maybe, I don't know, just like, you know stars of horror movies or something, a little biopics or something or whatever. I don't know, just
Nah,
something totally different, you know.
nah,
Yeah,
nah,
or
nah,
my love for monster movies or whatever. I don't know.
nah, nah.
Okay, yeah,
What I try to do, I guess, except for our Turtles book, is something that's so unique. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I think I have with the first three, but I don't know. It would have to hit me, and I'm thinking, well, there's nothing like it
No.
out there, and then maybe, but no, not presently. I don't
Yeah.
have.
Well, I don't blame you. I mean, I'm the same way. I don't like doing sequels or redos. Now, I did in the case of the Monkeys, but
Right,
the second book uh, was more about solo careers than the group. So
right. So that
it,
made
it,
sense. Yeah,
it was a little bit different. And the first one was revised because Michael, you mentioned Michael Arthur at the beginning. Michael and I realized that the book was virtually complete because it had everything but the Christmas album. So why not add the Christmas album? So now it is
yeah.
complete. And but yeah, I don't mind doing other books on the same subjects. Like I did a second Total Television book, which is the company, for people who don't know, that did Underdog and Tennessee Tuxedo and those cartoons.
Right.
But I did a completely different way. The first book was a little history book. The second one was a big scrapbook with lots of pictures and stuff like that. Still had a lot of information, and it corrected some errors from the first book, but it it's a book designed as a companion book, to say I'm a fan. I want both of them. I don't want to just get this one and forget this other one. So
You know,
I get it.
you're a real author, and you put out books, and they sell really well. And I'm very, envious, and I respect that. I put out books because I want to sit behind a table at a convention and sign, for at those events. Those were the only ways I sold books. I think I'd be happy.
Yeah,
It's a different. I think I come from a different mentality when it comes to the books because
you do.
I don't have them in Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah.
I don't probably
I
have
mean,
them.
it's funny. The part that you love the most is the part I probably love the least. It's like I love making them and
Yeah,
putting them out there, but it's
yeah.
like I want to see them on my shelf. I don't want to sit there and sign for people. I do, I do. I don't, but I'm not like going to libraries every day of the month of October and things like that. That would be seems so stressful to me to be
So,
doing that.
so today, as it worked out, the Beatles released their new song
Right.
now and then, and
Yes.
I had a library appearance where I was talking about my Beatles book. You talk about library appearances. What could have been a better timing? And I was on a TV program early in the day and actually talked about the release. And they were able to plug the fact that I was going to be at a library with the Beatles presentation. And that added a total another dimension to my presentation, which I wouldn't have anticipated when I booked this 2 months ago or 3 months ago, that it
Right.
would have been the same day as the release. But
Yeah.
for me, I love to talk and I love to be in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
And being a DJ, most of my life and an
Yeah.
MC, when I'm in a library, I get to play with the crowd and do interaction. And it's not just your droll reading from the book. If I had to see an author do that, I would fall asleep or leave. With me, it's I'm prowling the crowd. I'm
Yeah.
walking up to people and saying, "Do you?" I'm getting opinions as I'm doing my spiel.
Yeah.
And I started off with a rare video, and once in a while I'll bring in like a surprise guest, a McCartney imitator, and I'll end the show with a few songs. So when I do the libraries, it's a show. It's a whole program.
Yeah. And I've thought about doing stuff like that, but it's just you do it with ease and frequently. To me, it's like I've done some talks. I did a talk at the local museum here at the college about Harvey Kurtzman, the creator of Man Magazine. He worked for
Sure.
EC Comics and everything like that. And it's on YouTube if anybody ever wants to see it. And I'm comfortable speaking in front of people. I'm not shy, but
Yeah.
I will say, knowing you as I know you, you're far more extroverted than I am. I've always been an introvert at
All right.
heart, and it's
All right.
like, it takes something to get me to, Now, I will say this, if I was with you at one of these conventions or one of these places, I'd probably be out there hawking the book just as much as you. It's just
Right.
to
Right.
do it on a regular basis. It's like, it just boggles my mind. It's a little
Well,
overwhelming, but
I
yeah.
hope we get to a point where the Turtles book will be out there, and we'll have an opportunity to sign it together and
Yeah.
maybe do a presentation. That would be special.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what scenario would lead to that. Maybe if we're invited to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or
Right.
something really special.
The
In
only
the
convention I can think of is the one I think you attended, it, that Mid-Atlantic one, might
oh
be a
yeah,
possibility,
yes,
because even though the Turtles aren't celebrities in the traditional way, I mean, they're still known quantities, certainly as known as Fake Jan in the Brady Bunch and things like people like that show up to these
and very
shows and
talented
things
at
like
every
that.
show.
So
Yeah, she's
yeah,
great. She's a
yeah,
wonderful person.
yeah. Jerry Reichel
So
is very great, you know.
yeah, I
And
think
I gave her kudos once, and at first she was like, "Huh," and I because she kind of took it the wrong way. It's like, wow, you made your career on Fake Chan, and she thought I was insulting her, and I go, no. I think that's incredible that you can make a whole career about just one single role that you did at one point. So
she
anyway,
happens she happens to be in my horror book.
yes.
Uh, and if I'm not mistaken, I think she had a horror credit.
Oh,
And
she's done many other projects. It's just that
oh,
that's what she bills herself as, is
right,
Fake
right,
Jan,
right.
you know. Get a lot of mileage out of that one part that was only for like, I think they did 16 episodes, maybe something like
right.
that.
So
Anyway,
so her chapter is she was fake Jan, but she met the real Wolf Man, and she was in a movie called The Meat Puppet. So she
okay, yeah,
yeah, good credits in here. Yeah.
yeah. But I like it that she can milk that for all it's worth and get so much mileage out of it.
Let me
And be
share
happy
some.
with it. I mean, some people they're like, "Oh, I got typecast." Like I hate to say this, but it seemed like this years and years ago. I met Bob Denver as Gilligan. He wore the hat and everything, but you
Yeah.
could tell he was just like, "Why am I here?" It's like, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like if I was typecast as something, I mean, if I am in any way, it'd be like the Harvey Comics guy or something.
Right.
But I would relish in it. I would say, "Wow, I'm known for something," you know.
Yes.
So,
Agreed. If
yeah,
I was George Reeve, I would still be alive and I'd be 99 years old, still wearing the costume. And
yeah, that's
let me
right.
let me share something with you.
Sure.
Mary Reichel won a Best Supporting Actress award in the Down Beach Film Festival in Atlantic City Cinefest. It's the same Cinefest where Charles Rosenay won an award for Best Supporting Actor for his role as Death in the movie Kvetch. So her and I both won supporting actors in film festivals.
That's funny. Kvetch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna thought, is there a way to see that? Is that online or on video somewhere? I'm gonna have to check.
It's gotta be. It's really
I gotta
funny.
check this stuff out.
Years, years after
Excuse me.
years after it was made, I got a call that someone was showing it at some kind of online. It was during COVID with the Zooms when everyone was showing stuff. If I would come on, introduce it, and talk about my role in it, and my answer was yes, of course I will.
So that's great. um, so going back to the Beatles, I know we're going to jump around, but we're probably going to talk about Beatles. So come on back, come on back.
All right, all right.
All right.
Coming back to the British flag.
No, it looks like the Who.
Oh yeah, but it's got the Beatles up in the corner.
I know, but there's that famous picture with the Who hanging around the Union Jack. But
Yeah.
anyway,
This
all
is the
right.
first. This is the first
Before,
show where I'm doing multiple sets. You must know.
very good. Well, it isn't always that I have a backdrop. Although my next show, which I'll preview here,
Yeah.
actually my next show is already in the can because I'm doing this one. I'm doing a reversal, but the next one I'm recording tomorrow night. I'm talking to a gentleman who's written a book about Shemp of the Three Stooges.
Really
He shemped me he sent me the book cover, and so I'm gonna have that behind me.
nice.
So anyway, that'll be in a few weeks. So anyway, but before that, and
Yes.
before we talk about the Magical History Tour,
Mm.
you mentioned Now and Then. So your thoughts?
So I was really confused because I thought we were hearing a re-release of That Was Then, This Is Now. So I was waiting for a monkey song, No, well, so we've known the track for many years, and I never thought it was solid enough to warrant a Beatles recording. I thought it was this is just a demo throwaway.
Mhm.
I didn't think it would ever even make it onto a Lennon album. And boy, was I changed around because they did everything right. It's not often that you can, well, maybe not the cover, maybe the graphics could be a little more, fanciful. But I got to tell you, I love the song.
Mhm.
Um, I heard it in the process of before it was finally released. I heard snippets of it, and I was thinking, yeah, this is sounding good. And the more I heard it, and today hearing it, at 10 a.m. and hearing it on one channel, and then turning to another channel, it was like literally every channel was playing it, which was has
Mhm.
that ever been done before? It just goes to show the importance of it. And when I stopped hearing it on the channels, I was still hearing it in my head, Mark.
Mhm.
So the fact that it was still playing in my brain, that goes a long way because
Yeah.
it's to be an earworm like that right out of the box. Free as a Bird wasn't. Real Love wasn't.
Hmm.
I loved both those songs. Uh, as they would play more and more, I grew to love them.
Yeah.
Whereas this one I loved pretty much right out of the box.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of think the same way. I mean, over the years, because they always rumored this song to come out. So on
Yes.
YouTube, there's like 27,000 different versions of maybe if they finished it, it would sound like this. So, I
Right.
had it in my head and I knew that the earworm was a possibility because, I'd hum it to myself and I go, you know, uh, has possibilities. I mean, obviously, if it doesn't hit number one, if it doesn't even chart, it really doesn't matter at this point.
It does.
And it's nice to have one last edition,
Yeah. Yep.
before they go, screw it up because in the future some idiot will make something completely AI. Well, they've already done it, but while we still have some of the Beatles alive, and while we still have, the ability to use technology and the original recordings and stuff like that to useful way, it's like, why
I
not,
agree. I
yeah.
agree. Thank you.
um I
Anyone
do
else?
want to ask you this, just out of curiosity, because you're a few years my senior, so you had the privilege to, no, you did, you had the privilege of growing up hearing new Beatles songs as they were coming out
Look
back
at
in the
our faces. Look at us together. Come on, audience. Who's really younger? Come on. Yes, I did. Right. I did have the fortune of growing up and hearing them as they came out.
yeah.
Yes.
So, before I ask your opinion or of anything, a lot of people that are naysayers about Now and Then, they go, it wasn't that catchy, it wasn't that good. And it's like, I've known that over the years, at least, listening to solo Beatles records, some of them don't catch my interest right away. And then after a while, they just, oh, this is pretty good, and then I really like it. So back in the
especially
60s,
especially especially with Harrison stuff, believe it or
yeah,
not.
yeah.
With
So
me.
go back to the group stuff, not the solo stuff, but from 63 to or 64 to 70,
Yeah.
was there any single or singles or tracks that upon first or second listen you're just oh, they've lost it, this sucks, what are they doing? And then they turned out later to be like great or incredible or like, wow, what was I missing? Yeah.
Uh, I never thought it was crap, or I never thought any of the Beatles songs would be like that. But I'll tell you what song I always thought was just another album track, and became one of my all-time favorites. And when a Beatle tribute band does it, I just and I love so much is While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Huh.
Uh, to me, it was just another album track. It was it didn't cry baby cry. It just was one of the albums that I would go and listen to because I was listening to the whole album, but I wouldn't go out of my way to listen to. And that just flew so much above what it was. Now, when I first heard Free as a Bird and Real Love, I didn't love them because stupid me was expecting a Mop Top song. There was there was no rationale for it.
No,
It wasn't going to be Twist and Shout or She
yeah,
Loves You or any
yeah,
of the it wouldn't have been a bouncy song. Just like Ringo doesn't put out bouncy, mop toppy songs anymore. If he puts out an album or Paul puts out an album, it's mid tempo. It's
yeah,
more of what they're putting out. And so I don't know why I thought that, but it took me a while to warm up to both of those songs.
yeah,
And if those come on, I love them, and I'll
yeah,
watch the videos for them over and over.
yeah,
So this is a little different, now and then hit me hard, strong, and I loved it from the beginning. And I'm
mhm,
curious to see if it'll keep growing the way those two did.
yeah. I'll get my opinions and answer my own question too. So I'll say those two
So I was
since
going
you,
to ask you, what do you think?
yeah. Well, what I think, um, so when Free as a Bird and Real Love came out,
Yeah.
um, Free as a Bird blew me away. The only thing I wish now, and this is just because now they've done this new now and then technology where they can separate the vocal out, is to remaster it and make Lennon's vocal a little stronger in it and less ethereal and back, the mix. But that's another story for another time. But when it first happened and the video, I was like, this is it. This is like what I wanted. Because I wasn't thinking early Beatles. I was thinking more Sergeant Peppery Magical Mystery Tour Beatles, and Free as a
Sure.
Bird kind of fits in that a little bit better, you know.
I wish
Uh,
they I wish they gave that the Peter Jackson treatment,
yeah.
like you're saying, and remastered or Giles whoever, Giles
I mean,
Martin.
there's a possibility. I mean, they need to do something with those anthologies albums again. You know, what
Yeah.
they will do, I don't know, but
Uh,
and those tracks, a lot of people said, yeah, it would have been a natural thing that they should have added them to the 67-73 disc set and put Real Love and Free as a Bird as a remastered thing, but man,
yeah.
oh well.
Yeah.
And then Real Love, I had problems with it only because it had already appeared on that Lennon movie,
And then the
and
new
so I was like,
soundtrack.
that one disappointed me. I liked the video for it. I just thought the song was like, it was already out,
Yeah, no, it
and that's
wasn't
why I
as
was kind of glad that they also didn't work on Grow Old with me because I said it's already been out, it's like even if it's a crummy demo, it's like I'm always one. I want a new recording. Free as a Bird, I had never heard before. I had never even heard. I had listened to like the Lost Lennon tapes and stuff like that. But if they played it on there, I missed it. I didn't hear it until it aired that night on the anthology thing. So
yes. Yes, yes.
now and then is a little bit different. I have heard it for the last 20 years in various forms, but you know, this sounds better, in my opinion, than any version I've heard to this point. So the Beatles did it right, So,
Yes,
and then to answer the other part of my original question, since I didn't grow up with the Beatles, my earliest memories of the Beatles are like 69, 70, you know, and
mm,
so they were basically done. So I started collecting seriously in 77, and I wouldn't pick the albums necessarily in order. I tended to focus on the late 60s stuff because that was still kind of current sounding. And then I worked my way backwards. And so I kind of jumped around and whatever.
mm,
So the two singles, ironically enough, after saying that I thought were major letdowns. And I used to say this, it's like, if these are released as solo singles, they would have flopped. But the fact that they were Beatles singles is why they went to number one. One is Hello Goodbye, and the other is Get Back. Now, Get Back, especially in the last couple of years of the Peter Jackson film, has really grown on me, especially when you see the footage of Paul just noodling around, and then it kind of comes together into a real workable song. And then I'm like, okay, all right, you know. But I would say when I first heard it, and I think I heard Get Up and Go by the Ruddles first before I heard Get Back. And
uh,
so it's like I go, wow, this is a parody that sounds exactly like the original song. And of course, they did get in trouble later for that. And both aren't very good. It's like, and so, and I was not big on disco. We've had arguments about disco. I was not big on disco in the late 70s.
right.
Now I love it, but it's like back then there was just too much,
Mm.
and so Get Back sounds kind of like a disco song because of
No,
the heavy beat
not at all. Not at
the
all.
heavy beat. I'm not going
Not at
by
all.
glitter balls and stuff like that. I'm just going by the heavy beat, you know. I know we've had arguments about disco before, but anyway. So those are my reasons why I didn't like him. So, you know, I don't know if so you just said you never had any letdown experience. It's like, oh, come on, you can do better.
No, but
Yeah,
I gotta
yeah,
tell you that there are two songs that until Get Back came out, Get Back and Come Together were the two songs that I would like, oh, not again. It just seemed that those two were ones that the younger generation somehow latched onto, and
yeah,
every Beatle band was, here come old flat top. Everyone could do the Lennon in that voice.
yeah.
And Back was, their rocker. So those two started to get on my nerves for a while. And I'm admitting it, guys. Beatles songs actually did.
Yeah.
Uh, but Get Back, once that film came out, I was like, wow. I loved it all over again.
Yeah,
But there's very few songs that,
yeah.
I loved Hello Goodbye right out of the box. You Say, I loved it, and I still do. And for
It's still the weakest one of their singles. Like it would have been a better album track, in my opinion. Just but anyway, that's just me. Yeah.
you're entitled to the wrong opinion. So
Ah! All right, off my show. Thank you. That's enough. I'm revoking my check. Anyway, all right.
the world has to know that the host of Fun Ideas podcast is going to be coming with me and who knows how many other fans on the Magical History Tour to London and Liverpool in August of 2024. Dude, I am so psyched.
I'll be one of these peoples.
I was thinking that if I could actually deal with you for a few hours, I would let you share a room with me, and that thought went out of my brain real quick.
Oh, you wouldn't want to hear my snoring. Oh, he's a great guy. Anyway, um, let's see. So let me tell you my background on this, and then you can promote it because it's all going to be promotion for the next 20 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so of this, so I was not a charter subscriber to Good Day Sunshine, but I was pretty early on. I don't think I have every issue, but I think I have most of them, or I bought the back issues or something because I don't remember what year did you start?
1980 or 81, yeah.
Okay, I know I started by 83 because in 83, I'd been a Beatle fan for years, but I didn't buy magazines or anything unless it was a special. Oh, here's the Marvel Comics super special, on the Beatles. Okay, I'll buy that. Oh, here's another. And then when Lennon passed away, there was tons, and so I was like snapping them all up and everything. And then after that, it's like I hate to say, but news about the Beatles is like you remember this. It's like after Lennon died, it was almost like, well, the dream really is over,
Yeah.
and you couldn't find news. They wouldn't talk about it, and even McCartney's albums, save for Tug of War, started kind of flopping, and um, but the main thing is there was no news. You could never hear, it's like I remember like George's Gone Troppo album. The only reason I knew about it is I was just flipping through the bins and I said, "Hey, there's a new album." It's like,
Right.
and I bought it, but I knew nothing about it. And if I was subscribed to like Good Day Sunshine or the Beatles Monthly Book or Beatle Fan or any of those, they would have been talking about it for months, saying, "Oh yeah, George is working on a new album, blah 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 blah. He's not going to promote it because he's being a jerk right now, and, and living in Hawaii and acting weird, and but that's typical George. But anyway, but in 5 years he'll kind of come out of his pit.
Right.
Anyway,
I was a DJ on college radio, and I really stayed. Even though I became a mobile DJ, a party DJ, I still kept my fingers on the pulse of that, and I had to by publishing Good Day Sunshine. So I was in contact with every one of the record labels,
yeah,
and I would get press releases from them. And I was also, a very ardent student of not Rolling Stone, because there you got the most peripheral, the most mainstream news, but
yeah.
Billboard and Goldmine and whatever British record. I had to subscribe to everything so I could cull that one bit of news from 4 different places and come up with an article. And I remember there was some times when I thought Beatle fan took information from me when I put out an issue, and I took it from them because I try to stagger it. If they came out one month, I wanted to come out the alternating month. And
Right.
if someone was subscribing to them both, I think they were getting the ultimate in news, because with Beatle fan, I always said, that's like getting the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. It's news, 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 news. With Good Day Sunshine, you're getting also a little comedy. You're getting a little Charles Rosenay's personality. I didn't need it to be, I wanted to be the New York Post or the Daily News. I didn't need to be the New York Times. So whereas a magazine for many years called Strawberry Fields Forever by Joe Pope was that comedic, tongue-in-cheek high personality Beatlesine, that had kind of disappeared. And I was the in-between. I was the in-between of Beatle fan and Strawberry Fields, and I carved a nice little niche. And because I was a really good promoter and I had all the conventions and the tours, I mean, we were probably the most read Beatles magazine in the world for about a decade or two there.
Yeah. So, to finish my story, basically, is by '83,
Yeah.
after the Gone Troppo thing and Old Wave didn't, where'd that come from and things like that, with Ringo's album, I said, okay, well, the rest of the world may think that the Beatles are passe. I want to know what they're still doing. They're still around. Three of them are, and it's like, I want to know what they're doing, and I don't know which one I subscribed to first. Probably Beatle fan, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
And I just, in quick succession, I got Beatle fan, Good Day Sunshine, Beatles Monthly Book, and Club Sandwich, and I probably did a couple others that I
Yeah.
only lasted maybe a year, and I said, these aren't any good. But the ones that I was with solid, and I'm still with one of them today, Beatle fan and yours. It's like yours just, it ended on me like so many other magazines. I mean, you weren't even running it at the tail end there, but
No, no.
so it's like, oh well, but it's like at least Beatle fan keeps going, and I'm like, yay. But of course nowadays, you got the internet, so you can find out information at a drop of a hat. Yeah, there you
Bill
go.
King, we love you. We love your magazine.
Yay. So I've
But
been
there is,
faithful subscriber to that for 40 years now. Hard to believe.
can I recommend another one
Sure.
called Octopus's Garden?
Oh, okay. I
Been
think I
going
have one issue of that one, but yeah. Okay.
33 years going.
Yeah. I never got a subscription. Oh, I know one I used to get. I used to get the Harrison Alliance. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yes, I
Yeah.
sure do. I loved Harrison.
Uh,
That was out of Connecticut too, and Jenny
yeah.
and Patty. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got a couple monkeys ones. I got Monkey Business, and there's another monkeys one which names I forget, but I think it's called the Monkey Video Newsletter. It was on yellow paper. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways, yeah,
it was a shiny cover. It was the Monkeys and Beatles video news,
yeah.
put out by a guy named Mike Boyce, and
Mm.
him and I actually combined forces to put on a Monkeys convention in '87, and we did a combined Good Day Sunshine, Monkey and
I
Beatle
remember that. I remember
video
that.
news, and it was also the program for the
Yep,
convention.
I remember that. I know I have it. Well, you can't see the boxes back here because the Beatles are in the way, but anyway. All right. So, knowing this in Good Day Sunshine, every year it would have this big ad. It's like, hey, everybody, we're going to Liverpool and London, and Liverpool Productions is doing this tour. And every year I'd go, I'm in high school, I can't afford it. I'm in college, I can't afford it. I'm now married, I can't afford it. I'm broke because I made some bad financial decisions in my life and I can't afford it. And it's like every year. And then I was seriously considering doing it, and then the pandemic happened, and it's like because that was the first time, about 2019, 2020, that I actually had enough money that I could actually do it. That's how
Wow.
long it's taken in my life. And then that happened, and then I was gonna do it this year, 2023,
Right.
and my wife and I were going to move. Well, we still haven't moved, And so when this one came around again for 2024, I said, look, let me just do it. We can always move, but I want to do this trip while I can still walk, while I'm
Sure.
still relatively young. I'm
Right.
56, going to be 57 when I do the show, when I
Yeah.
do the
Yeah.
thing, and where I can enjoy it. And it's like, it's kind of funny. I'm not a big traveler. I mean, once I committed to it mentally, I had a panic attack about it. I told you that. And now I'm fine, and I've made my deposits, so and I'm saving up for the remaining part of it, which
Yeah.
at some point we're going to have to discuss what that amount exactly is, because I don't know
Right.
if I'm going to have a roommate or not,
Right.
and other things. But um, I guess I could ask all my questions, but maybe you want to just kind of plug it a little bit and what you get on this trip if you do the full trip for August 19th through the 28th.
Well, I will preface by saying, not only did we announce it in Good Day Sunshine all the time, we would then, when we got back, we'd hit you over the head with a report on what you missed.
Yes.
And it was usually a gal named Batya Salem, who's going to probably listen to the show and be shocked that I mentioned her name. But she would do like a tour report every other time, because she probably went on the trip 20 times, and she was always the official reporter, and she might even be with us in 2024. But what can I say, aside from the fact that for 40 years, we've been bringing fans on the ultimate Beatles experience. The Magical History Tour takes everyone for 3 days in London. We go to Liverpool via Henley, so we visit George's, home, and we go to the gates of Friar Park and all the places that he loved in the area. And then we go to Liverpool for an entire week, when people used to say, "A week? What can you do in Liverpool in a week?" And my answer is, if we were there 10 days or 14 days, we could still do stuff. The problem when we're there sometimes is, on a given night, three things are happening at once, and we have
Yeah.
to pick the best of those things to do. It's like going to Memphis during Elvis Week. It's like being in New Orleans during Mardi Gras. It's like being in whatever town the Super Bowl is in. That's the ultimate Beatle experience. And I'm always going to say, if you don't go with me, it's okay. You're going in May or June or December or October. Go, you're gonna have a great time, but you won't do half of what we do. You won't do it with fellow fans. We're a community, we're like-minded. It's become silly, because I've said this on a lot of occasions, but people go to their favorite high-end restaurant, and they'll go 4 times, and on the fifth time, no, it wasn't as good. This was cold. I don't know why they didn't prepare it the same way. You're not going to get the same people walking away and saying they've had the greatest time in the world. Mark, everyone who comes home from the Beatles tour, just to a person, 1,000% satisfaction. They have the greatest time. And I'd like to think, I have a small part of it, but it's because they're in the Beatles land. They're walking in the footsteps of John, Paul, George, Ringo, and Pete, and Stu, and everyone, who came before us. But the fact that I'm on there making sure everyone has a good time and entertaining them, and we're dancing at the Cavern, and we're seeing the bands at the convention, and we're going to the Casbah, and we're going to Strawberry Field, and we're getting into places that people really can't get into on their own in many of the cases. Last year we got this past tour, we got inside Abbey Road Studios, and we did an actual recording session. We hadn't done that in 10 years. And I don't know if we'll ever get to do that again, but that's the type of thing that makes our tours just so special. There was a year where we were on our way from London and Liverpool, and someone said, "Hey, did you see this in the local London newspaper? Julian Lennon is doing an appearance at a toy store." Stopped the bus, turned around, went back to London. We all met him. We went to see him. I didn't care if we were late in Liverpool. This was a once in a lifetime experience. We got to meet Julian, at a famous toy store where he was launching a game that was, what was it? It was an environmentally something or other, and all the proceeds went to an ecological charity. So we all got to meet Julian. These are the things that I can't put in my promotion because I don't know they're going to happen.
Right.
So many of those amazing things that you didn't know were going to happen, and every year there's magical stuff that go on, which is why it's the Magical History Tour, actually. and
Yeah.
it's and it's reasonable. I don't want to give prices, but if someone wants information, there's a lot of options. You can go just to London, you can go just to Liverpool, you can do London and Liverpool and fly on your own. You can do shorter days in Liverpool, you can do the whole shebang and fly with us out of New York, which I recommend, because
That's
then
me.
we're a group, right? We're a group from when we leave to when we get back, and I'm taking care of everyone safely and making it as fun as possible. And just visit liverpooltours.com, www.liverpooltours.com, or email liverpoolproductions@gmail.com, and I'll send you the information personally. And if you have questions, you call me, and I'm with you for an entire year, helping make sure that your travel plans are in order.
But
And
believe me, you're going to answer some questions.
no
Yeah,
doubt, no
yeah,
doubt,
yeah,
most of which I've already answered and probably have in a data
yeah,
sheet that you haven't gotten yet.
yeah,
But
yeah.
what to pack,
I mean,
what
the main thing, and I'll interrupt here. The main thing is obviously I'm going on the New York trip because I was
yeah,
like thumbs up. But how do I get from Eugene to New York and New York back to here? And it's like
right,
there we
right.
go.
We have to
So
we time that out with when the flights are, and we
yeah,
make sure that you're on board with us. But it's questions like, what's the weather like during that time? What should I pack? How much money should I bring for souvenirs?
yeah,
What, all those type of things. And it's the same questions that are answered every year. So I have like sheets and sheets of,
yeah,
what do you do about taking medications, extra contact lenses,
yeah.
anything that has ever been asked, I have in this, pretty much FAQs answered.
Yeah.
And when people sign up for the trip, I send them that information eventually.
So I'm sure you answer about like how cell phones work and things like that too. How money works, the
Who
three
doesn't
giant
does
plugs,
a
and
cell phone? I don't even know how it works, but it does work. Yeah, all of that, all of that.
yeah,
Yeah, of
yeah, yeah.
course.
Um, I guess you could give some deadlines here too, because, or I can give a deadline, because I know it to the back of my head. It's May 1st, 2024. That's when the final deposits are due. That's,
And
yeah,
most of the reservations come in, January and February.
yeah,
People wait till the holidays are over. After the New Year's, they start thinking about it seriously. They'll usually get in their down payments, their deposits, January and February. And by May, you're paid up and ready to go in August. And we do it every single August during Beetle Week. It's Beetle Week in Liverpool. We're partners with Cavern City Tours and the people who own the Cavern Club and put on the convention there. And it's during bank holiday in Liverpool, so it's just the best time. And we get lucky. There's only a few times in 40 years where we've had like really bad weather. It's usually when it's the sunniest and most comfortable, I guess, for lack of a better word,
yeah.
comfortable time to be in that part of the world.
Now, if anybody would be bored or tired of it all, would be you, if you've been
No
on
way.
all 40 of them. But no, okay.
Why am I not bored?
Yes.
Because I'm gonna live Mark Arnold's first experience there. Because
Oh,
I'm gonna see the person get off the bus in Liverpool and go to the Beatles statues at the dock, and I'll see the tears coming out of their eyes without them knowing it. They're just crying because they're in a place that they've always dreamt about, a
yeah,
place that they've only heard about in songs, read about in books, seen in postcards. And now, they're it's a dream come true for so many people. I don't want to use the word bucket list because that ages some of the people, but sure enough, people have waited their whole lives to come and walk in the footsteps of the Beatles. And it's so vicariously, I'm loving the tour because of the people's experiences on there. I
yeah,
remember a couple got there and they kissed the ground. I go, what do you do? And they didn't even think about it. It was a natural thing for them to land in Liverpool and kiss the ground, which to them was so holy. Walking into Abbey Road, or it's into walking the streets at Penny Lane, or going inside Strawberry Fields. It's such an emotional thing for so many people. I mean, it's the guy. I guess you could ask every rock star, "Aren't you tired of playing your own song?" And
Yeah.
if they're cool, they're going to tell you no, because it might be a brand new audience who's never heard it before, or it
Right.
might be that one person in the crowd whose dream was that was their favorite song growing up, and they always wanted to hear it sung by the original artist. For me, I love it because I'm loving it through the people who are going, and it makes it that much more special.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, for, somebody asks you, why do I do this podcast, or why do I keep writing books? Well, there is an intrinsic thrill every time, even if I've had you as a guest before, and we've talked about a lot of this stuff before, but, it's like, I get some sort of rush out of it, I suppose, doing this show.
Of course.
And, you know, hopefully, I say hopefully, hopefully I will have a good time on the trip, I think I
You're
will.
gonna have
Yeah.
you're gonna have the greatest time. I can't wait
Yeah.
till the podcast we do after the tour, like
Yeah.
the tour follow-up roundup, to share with the people all the stuff that goes on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We should probably figure out something, but that's a discussion for a later time, that I can incorporate other people's footage or something into a show for me, or something like that, you know. Or I
Yeah.
can do a show live from London or whatever,
Yes. You
with my cell phone, and just go.
Oh,
Anyway.
that makes a lot of sense. We should have that as a part of live from Liverpool. We should do a Fun Ideas podcast, maybe right from the Beatles convention at the Adelphi.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you are my guide, you are my host, but it's like, it's funny, the way I wanted to do it was always, your tours sounded interesting. Like,
Yeah.
this would be the one to do.
Right.
My parents went to London and, other places in Europe in 1984,
Uh-huh.
which made me highly jealous, and I wanted to go, but they were going like on a second honeymoon type thing back in the day. And my mom did bring, she was gracious enough to bring back some rare Beatle records from England. One that pops in my head is, she brought back Band on the Run 7-inch single, because the B-side was Zoo Gang, which you couldn't get here back in
Right.
those
It
days.
was different. Right.
That's an example, because I sent her a little list. I said, see if you can find this. And she bought like 10 little records and stuff like that. And cool.
Right.
And some magazines and other things. But it's like, it just made me more jealous. And it's like, I want to go. It's like, why didn't you take me?
That was
So,
84. I was already that was the second year I'd been there.
yeah, yeah.
First was 84. So
So it's been a long time.
now
I'm determined to
I'm
go.
coming back home. I've been away now. Oh, so,
It'll probably be nonstop larfs,
yeah,
or so,
that's about
or we'll be at each other's throat by the end. You made me come on this trip.
no, it won't be that one. It'll
You
be
ruined my interest in the Beatles. I was such a Beatles fan.
Mark. You have it all wrong.
I know.
It'll it'll be, why did I allow him to go on this trip?
Yeah.
That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, because we talked about it earlier. This is the Now and Then trip, because you can call it that, because it is. And it's the 40th anniversary of them coming to America, even though we're going over there, so
40th.
yeah, or 60th, sorry.
It's the
40th
60th.
on your trip. I'm sorry. It's 40th on the trip. I'm
Yeah,
brain dead.
60th.
Okay, yeah, the 60th, but 60th of Ed Sullivan. That's what I meant to say. But
I have to change my promotion to the Now and Then tour.
yes,
Yeah.
you do. You do. Take advantage of it. It's the last time you can do it. So, Now and Then tragical history. I mean, magical history tour.
Now and
I'm
Then.
going to do the Ruddle stuff the whole time. It's like, hey, this is where they sang Piggy in the Middle. No, 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 it's on the walrus, you dummy. Anyway. All right. Well, we've gone a little over an hour, and I said I'd keep it short. So, we talked about a lot of different stuff. I'll give
Yes.
you one last chance to plug everything. You could show you didn't show your Beetle book, so show that one too. And
The only thing I didn't bring down with me. I
oh, you
will
don't have it. Okay, never mind.
I will
But
tell you that November 11th and 12th at Salem State University. It is the Salem Paranormal and Horror Convention. www.salemparacon.org. The Beatles book of top 10 Beatles lists is available from the website www.bookoftop10beatleslists.com, or you can get it on Amazon. And the Beatles tour that we've been alluding to and referring to is the only one that anyone should ever go on. It's the Magical History Tour during Beatle Week, put on by yours truly, and also being attended by yours over there truly.
you want to meet me? You don't want to meet
Oh,
him.
please,
Oh, him.
please, people are not going to go if they hear
Meet
that.
these guys back here.
www.liverpooltours.com.
Yay!
Mark,
All
thank you
right.
for the forum. Thank you for letting me make silly faces and jump around in my seat and answer all your questions. Mostly, seriously, mostly.
All right. Well, everybody enjoy themselves. Come with me on the tour. Buy your Beatles records during the fall and Christmas season, and I will see you next time. Charles won't be here, but he'll probably be back in a future podcast.
I'm
But I
here
thank you.
now. I'm
Yeah.
here now, but I'll be back then.
Yes.
Now and then.
And that wraps up another Fun Ideas podcast. And this is Mark Arnold, and we'll see you next time.